everyone, and welcome to another episode of 5 Minute Conversations. I'm your host, Jason Schemmel, and today I have Josh Linkner of Platypus Labs with me, which is an innovation, which is based around innovation training, research, and consulting, and is described as art meets science meet business experience. So I'm going to let Josh delve a little bit more into that. But first, Josh, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jason. Great to be with you.
Yeah, great having you. So tell us a bit about Platypus Labs. How does art meet science meet business experience?
Our view, I've written 4 books on the topic of innovation and creativity, and spent a career starting as a jazz guitarist, and then as an entrepreneur, and now a venture capital investor, harnessing human creativity and inventive thinking and creative problem solving to drive positive outcomes. So Platypus Labs is a firm that we essentially help organizations and leaders build this capacity of ingenuity and inventiveness. And of course, many big companies have kind of lost their way. They follow the process and the checklist. But the thing is that, especially in this era of AI, when anything that can be automated will be, the one area for people to stand out and shine is the things that AI cannot do, which is compassion and creativity and inventiveness. And so we help companies build a culture of innovation and help them solve some of their most difficult problems using this incredible reservoir that we all have of dormant creative capacity.
That's really cool. And I completely agree with you. As a marketer myself, and being in this whole AI age that we're definitely coming into with this new fad of tools and everything, it's something I try and remind people that no matter how much ChatGPT you use or any other AI, there still needs to be a human to human connection, no matter who you're working with. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. So in going into like unlocking that creativity and getting to the emotional side of things and not just being automate everything, how do you bring out some of that creativity in some of the clients you work with?
Yeah, so we've developed methodologies and programming over the years, and we've helped some of the largest companies in the world, Honda, CIBC Bank, Cardinal Health, and others, tap into this dormant reservoir of creative capacity. The way I think about it is, imagine out back of your house, you had an oil well with like $1 billion of oil underneath there. You wouldn't be like, nah, I'm not going to tap that. You'd be racing out there with a shovel. The thing is that most companies have that dormant reservoir, except creativity, unlike oil, is renewable, it's free, it doesn't hurt the environment, and it's right there at our disposal. So today, I think companies win when they can tap every box of the org chart and allow the creative flow to come through all of their team members. Of course, in a thoughtful and appropriate way, but when you tap into that, we become unstoppable. And so our firm helps them develop those skills through workshops and training programs and ongoing programming, again, to drive this type of thinking deep and wide in organizations.
Very cool. So what are some of thinking on the flip side of that, what are some of the challenges, or at least the common challenges you've seen that have prevented some of that creativity from getting out? Is it, do you feel it's management? Is it people just like trying to take ideas for themselves? Maybe something else?
Well, it turns out the biggest blocker of creative output is fear. It's not natural talent. And the research, by the way, is crystal clear that all human beings have the capacity to be creative. That's our natural state. I like to say, if you're breathing, you're creative. So we're hardwired to think in this manner. It can show up in different ways. Like, I play jazz guitar pretty well. I can't draw at all. Doesn't mean I'm not creative. It's just that I express it in one genre. So someone else could express it as a sales professional, in customer service, in legal, etc. But there's room for creativity, in my mind, in any box on the org chart. So the biggest blocker, again, is fear. How do we do that? How do we navigate it? The truth is that fear and creativity cannot coexist. So if there's a leadership construct or there's an environment that people are afraid to share their ideas, they never will. What we need to do is send fear out to Starbucks and create safe environmental conditions, psychologically safe, where people can share their ideas with no fear of retribution. The way this is solved, it can happen through cultural rituals. It can happen through rewards and operating systems. It can even operate through techniques. There's some simple twists on brainstorming, which, by the way, is largely outdated and ineffective, to even in a jam session like that, to help people get their ideas free flowing without all the fear.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And I love how you phrase that. It's taking out the fear so that people aren't afraid to be creative, to put the ideas out there, like you said, without fear of retribution, without judgment, anything like that. It's just putting it out there for the sake of, you never know what could happen. Some of my favorite questions I like to ask usually start with, what if? Like, what if we tried this, or what if we tried that? And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but sometimes you don't know unless you try, right?
Well, not to mention, so a normal brainstorming session, it's really a bad design process because when we share an idea, like we're responsible for that idea. And so what happens is if I share an idea and there's 5 other people in the room, they immediately become the idea police and find all the ways to shoot it down. Yep. And so what we do is we share our mediocre ideas, not our bold ones, because we don't want to look foolish and we don't want to get in trouble with the boss or whatever. Your little adjustment, what if you just do a brainstorm and say the word what if before every idea that's shared, you're absolving yourself of responsibility. You're not endorsing an idea. You're merely speculating. What if this? What if that? And literally that simple twist when you do the next jam session will unlock much bolder ideas because the person sharing it doesn't have to defend the idea that they shared.
I love how you phrased all of that. And it's really cool to think that it's just a simple twist. It's just a different way of presenting it. It's just a different perception or perspective is really all you need to really start taking that fear out of it and allow yourself to be creative.
That's exactly right. My probably favorite technique of all time, I call it the judo flip. And so if you want to come up with a more groundbreaking idea, you first take an inventory. How have we always done it at this company? How does the rest of the folks in our industry proceed? What's common wisdom? And then you ask a simple question. What's the opposite? What would it look like instead of complying with the tradition if you judo flip the tradition? And the simple metaphor is very easy to remember. No one will forget it after today, but it's really powerful because when you're like, hey, how can I grow my sales results? How can I recruit better people? Instead of just doing what you've always done, you say, well, what's the judo flip? What's the opposite of conventional wisdom? And that is as a mechanism is very powerful to unlock fresh thinking.
Mm-hmm. I feel it's so necessary, no matter what team that you're working in, whether it's a big company, small company, whatever, because like even in my own experience, I've worked within companies and groups where it's like, we've always done things this way. So there's that thinking of we have to keep doing things this way. And you're like, but there's so many other ways we could be doing this. And if only you were open to it, maybe things could be better. Maybe, again, who knows? But then again, that's where the what if questions come in. So I love the idea of the judo flip because it's like, let's take what we know and then flip it on its head and see if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, maybe find common ground. Maybe that works.
It's exactly right. It's a starting point, not an ending point, but at least it breaks us of just following the rules blindly. And that's what happens. People say, well, we tried this in 1987. It didn't work. Yeah. A lot's changed since 1987, or we don't do that around here. Again, to me, those are fighting words. And we've seen time and time again, the companies that fail to reimagine and reinvent just simply fail. Like, how's Oldsmobile doing? How's Pan Am Airlines flying these days? And so I think there's now an imperative that we can no longer simply rely on the models of the past and expect the same results. It's incumbent on us for our very survival, let alone growth, to always be reimagining and doing things differently. Look, we're living in a rate of change like none other in history. So if we're not changing, we got a problem. It reminds me of the famous quote from legendary leader Jack Welch of GE. He said, if the rate of change on the outside is greater than the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. Truer words have never been spoken.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. I could not agree more. And unfortunately, we have to stop it there. That's our time. I wish we could keep going. I have like 50 other questions I'd love to talk with you about. Maybe we'll have to connect again sometime. But for now, we're at time. But Josh, thank you so much for your time. How can people find you and Platypus Labs online?
Yeah, thanks, man. It's a pleasure speaking with you. You can find me at joshlinkner.com. That's JOSHLINKNER.com. All kinds of stuff about my body of work and all that. Platypus Labs, as you might imagine, platypuslabs.com. If anyone's interested in my venture fund and wants to learn more about that, it's called Mudita Venture Partners, MUDITA. And the website is just Mudita VP, stands for Venture Partners. So muditavp.com.
Fantastic, everyone. So make sure you check out everything that Josh is doing online, learn how to grow your business, and make sure that that change doesn't mean the end of times for you and your company. So Josh, again, thank you so much for being on the show.